Ever found yourself walking away from a hangout feeling more exhausted than after a full day at work? Like, why does spending time with certain people feel like you've just run a marathon barefoot in emotional nails? You didn't sign up for that race, but somehow they drag you in step by draining step. Some friends don't just wear you out, they empty you. Not just your energy or mind, your confidence, your peace. And the worst part, they often come disguised as the most entertaining, charming, even loyal ones. Today, we're diving deep into something a little uncomfortable but necessary. The types of friends who quietly, or not so quietly, suck the life right out of you. And trust me, I'm not speaking from theory. I've been there. I've known them. Hell, I've even laughed with them, trusted them, called them bro. Until the moment I realized was the next story on their lips. Some of them, they wore big smiles. They toasted with me at dinner tables. One of them even borrowed my favorite hoodie, and guess what? Yeah, I never saw that hoodie again. But it wasn't just the hoodie they took. They took something deeper. A little bit of trust. A little bit of peace. Before we get into this breakdown, quick plug. If you're into raw, real, and reflective content about stoicism, self-growth, and seeing through the noise of life, check out my free Sunday newsletter. No fluff, no clickbait. Just straight-up lessons, controversial truths, and strategies to help you level up every single week. Want in? Use the link below to subscribe and get weekly insights delivered right to your inbox. And if you're a brand looking to collaborate and connect with a real, tuned-in audience, my email's in the description. Let's build something meaningful together. All right, let's talk about the first type of friend you should never trust. 1. The gossip. If they gossip with you, they gossip about you. Let's not pretend gossip can feel good. I won't lie and pretend I've never indulged. It makes you feel sharp, like you've got this inside scoop on the world. You're in the director's booth of someone else's life, watching their chaos play out from a safe, superior distance. And when you have a friend who always brings that juicy tea, it can feel like bonding. Like you're both in on some secret. You're laughing, shaking your heads, whispering about who messed up, who's being fake, who's doing the most. You feel closer than ever because you've built this invisible alliance on shared stories. And sharper dash than dash, they dash, should dash be opinions. But if you're really paying attention, at some point, you start hearing the cracks. Not out loud, but in your gut. That tiny whisper inside goes, wait, if this is how he talks about them to me, asterisks, WHATs, he's saying about me when I'm not around. That's exactly how it happened to me. Let me tell you about J. J. Was the kind of guy that lit up a room with charm, wit, and stories that always had just the right sting. He was funny, smart, a walking headline. A night out with Jay was never boring. He had this way of dropping one-liners about people that were so brutally clever. You almost respected it. We'd be out, and Jay would lean over with that mischievous smirk and say, "See that dude? He's only buying bottles because he's flexing on his girl's credit card." Or we'd scroll past someone's vacation post, and he'd mutter, "Must be nice. But let's not forget, dude still lives with his mom." At first, I laughed. It felt like Jay was just sharp, subservient. He was keeping it real, right? But eventually, it stopped being funny, because it wasn't just once. It wasn't occasional. It was constant. Jay didn't have casual conversations. He had assassinations if every one of them was aimed at someone else's back, until one day I found out one of those arrows had my name on it. It came through a mutual friend. Casual as hell. He said, "Yo," Jay said, "you've been copying his business ideas." He says, "You're kind of jealous of him." Jealous of Jay. Jay, the same dude who spent more time trashing other people's hustle than building his own. At first, I was furious. How could he say that? But then something clicked. And I wasn't even surprised, because deep down, that's who he was. That's who he had always been. I just hadn't noticed before, because back then, his poison wasn't aimed at me. That was the day I stopped picking up his calls. Not with a dramatic goodbye or a loud confrontation. Just a quiet decision. No more. Because, here's the truth, no one warns you about gossip doesn't just poison relationships. It poisons you. The longer you're around it, the more it changes you from the inside out. Suddenly, you're not seeing people for their character, their kindness, or potential. You're scanning them like a predator, looking for flaws, for weaknesses, for stories you can tuck into your pocket and toss out later for laughs or validation. You begin building your confidence not on your growth, but on other people's pain. Their bad decisions become your emotional fuel. You find yourself weirdly satisfied when someone stumbles, and that's when you know you've started rooting for failure instead of growth, not just theirs, but your own too. And the longer you hang around people like that, the more distorted your view becomes. You start expecting betrayal everywhere, even from the people who've done nothing but stand by your side, even from the ones who genuinely love you. And I'll be real with you, I've been on both sides of this. There were times when I was the one sharing stories that weren't mine. I justified it. Said I was just venting, or just being real. But deep down, it came from a place of insecurity, from feeling small, from needing to feel like I had something worth saying, even if that something tore someone else down. For 5 minutes, I felt tall. Then reality would settle back in, and I'd feel smaller than before. Because that's the paradox of gossip. It feeds your ego, but it starves your soul. You walk around with a smirk on your face, but a weight on your chest. People, worse, you stop trusting yourself. It wasn't until I finally removed people like Jay from my life, and more importantly, removed that gossip voice from my own head, that things started to feel lighter. My confidence started growing. Not because I thought I was better than anyone, but because I no longer wasted energy wondering who was stabbing me in the back. In my relationships, they deepened. Because now, when someone said, "I got you," I could believe them. And the best part, I started truly cheering for people, not secretly hoping they'd slip, not waiting for their flaws to surface, so I could feel better about my own. I started seeing wins and small ones and feeling joy that wasn't diluted by comparison. So, if you take nothing else from this, remember this. The way someone talks about others in front of you is exactly how they talk about you in front of others. So stop being impressed by the one with the sharpest tongue. Start respecting the one who knows when to shut it down. Because real friendship, it's when someone defends your name even when you're not there to hear it. Real confidence, it's building yourself up without tearing anyone else down. And if you're tired of people gossiping about you, here's the tough truth. Stop being one of them. The day I stopped participating in it, stopped laughing at the digs, stopped adding my clever little 2 cents, stopped playing that game, was the day I started sleeping better. No mental replay, no guilt-tripping thoughts, just peace. And trust me on this, the day you cut out the gossipers, and more importantly, the gossip in your own heart, that's the day you'll start to breathe easier. 2. That's not just advice, that's experience. 2. The jealous friend. Not everyone clapping for you is truly happy for you. Let me put it plainly. We all want to believe our friends are cheering us on. That when we win, they're smiling, not just with their mouths, but with their eyes, with their whole hearts. But here's a hard truth that rarely gets said out loud. Sometimes, the people laughing with you, sending you fire emojis, dropping proud of you, bro, under your photos, are the same people secretly wishing you trip. Why? Because your success reminds them of their stagnation. And that kind of reflection can hurt. That realization. It doesn't whisper, it slaps. For me, it happened when I bought my first car. Now, to you, it might not sound like a big deal, but to me, it was the culmination of years grinding through school, working odd jobs, saying no to late nights and expensive weekends. I've been driving my mom's beat-up old Corolla through college. You know, the kind where the AC squeaks like it's begging for mercy. And taking a sharp turn meant the glove box would explode and dump papers all over your friend's lap. I finally saved enough to buy myself a decent used BMW. Nothing wild, not brand new, not even flashy. But to me, it was a trophy, not a flex, a symbol of sacrifice, of independence, of moving forward. You know how I said the car wasn't flashy? Well, in that moment, it didn't matter. I pulled into the driveway, grinning like a kid at Christmas, heart pounding, proud of every late night and every nah I can't afford. It that got me there. I texted the boys, come outside. They came running out, yelling, hyping me up. Yo, clean, big man moves. Finally, it felt good. It felt earned. Let's call him D, leaning against the wall. Arms folded classic. I'm too cool to care, Posey said. Yeah, I mean it. Just a used Beamer. Hope you didn't overpay though. You know these things break down fast, right? The group chuckled. Not quite a laugh, more like that awkward sound people make when they're not sure if someone's joking or being a jerk. I forced a smile, laughed it off, but inside, yeah, I felt it. It wasn't just the words, it was the look. That expression that says, why you? Why not me? The type of look you can't quite prove, but you can't unfeel either. And that wasn't the only time. When I got a promotion at work, D shrugged and said, hey, they're probably just trying to fill a quota. Don't let it go to your head. When I started dating my girlfriend, who, by the way, is incredible, D hit me with, she's cute. But you know how these types are. Good luck keeping her around. It took me years I'll never get back, just to admit what was really happening. At first, I told myself he was just the tough love guy, you know, keeping me grounded, keeping me humble. Maybe I even needed that. Someone to balance out the compliments. But eventually, it hit me. There's a difference between someone who keeps you humble and someone who's quietly rooting against you. And here's the part that's hardest to say out loud. I've been that guy, too. Yeah, I've been the jealous friend. I remember watching my old buddy from high school absolutely crush it. launched his own business, started making real money before he even hit 25. Meanwhile, I was still clocking into a retail job, scarfing down ramen and trying to stretch $20 through the weekend. Then I'd scroll through Instagram and see him on a yacht somewhere tropical, smiling, living, thriving. And what did I do? Roll my eyes and mutter, must be nice. Probably his parents paid for all that. Or bet he's not smiling when tax season hits. That wasn't realism. That wasn't keeping it honest. That was my jealousy talking. That was my insecurity bleeding through, trying to mask itself as logic or wit. It took serious self-awareness and, honestly, a few sessions of therapy to face the truth. Tearing someone down doesn't lift you up. Dimming someone else's light doesn't make yours shine brighter. It just makes you bitter. Bitter and stuck. That's why the jealous friend is so dangerous. They're not just harmful to you, they're harmful to themselves, because they can't fully celebrate your wins. To them, your success feels like their failure. And when you're looking sideways at everyone else's lane, guess what? You never move forward in your own. And if you don't catch it early, that energy, that subtle resentment, that tension, it starts to seep into you. You start shrinking just to make them feel taller. You start toning yourself down, your wins, your joy, your ambition, so they don't feel left behind. That's exactly what I did for years. I kept trying to make it okay for him. I stopped sharing the good news. I stopped letting myself shine. I even stopped aiming higher, because I didn't want him to feel small standing next to me. And then one morning, it just hit me, like a quiet but sharp whisper inside. Why am I shrinking just to protect someone else's fragile ego? Why am I afraid to grow just because they're afraid to move? That moment of clarity changed everything. There was no dramatic breakup, no big confrontation. No, we need to talk texts. Just less time given, less energy spent, less access to me, and more focus on who I was becoming without needing their permission. And here's the beautiful part. The space I cleared out by letting go of jealous, energy-draining friendships, it didn't stay empty. Key, it made room for people who actually clapped when I won genuinely, not out of obligation, not because they wanted to look supportive. These were the kind of people who weren't intimidated by growth. They were inspired by it. They made me want to reach higher, not second-guess every step up the ladder. So, if any of this feels a little too familiar, if you've got a D in your life, someone who downplays your wins, questions your worth, makes you feel guilty for glowing, then let me tell you something. Most people won't. You don't owe anyone your success in smaller doses. You don't have to dilute your joy to make someone else feel better. You don't have to shrink so they can feel tall. And if someone can't celebrate you when you're rising, they don't deserve a front row seat in your life when you arrive. And if you're listening to this and realizing, maybe you're that friend, it's okay. Seriously, jealousy is human. We've all felt it. The key isn't to pretend you've never been there. It's to catch it, own it, and then use it. Turn that envy into fuel. Don't ask, why him? Ask, why not me? Their success doesn't take anything from you. It simply proves what's possible. And if you stop spending energy criticizing others and start spending it building your own thing, you'll give people a reason to clap for you, too. Here's what I know now. Without a doubt, a real friend celebrates your wins, even when they're losing. A real friend can clap for you without turning it into a comparison. And those who can't, they were never rooting for you. Just the version of you they could tolerate. So stop letting jealous people drain your joy. Okay? Stop letting their insecurity infect your vision. And for the love of progress, stop apologizing for growing. Because here's the truth. Your light will never blind the right people. It'll just help them see what's possible. 3. The fake supporter, they'll clap for you in public, but roll their eyes the moment you turn your back. Let's talk about one of the most confusing, most exhausting, and honestly, most slippery types of friend out there. The fake supporter. You've met them. We all have. They show up like they care, say all the right things, drop a congrats, bro, in your comment section. They like your posts, maybe even swing by your event just long enough to grab a selfie with you for their story. So their feed stays looking supportive. But if you look closely, if you really pay attention, you'll start to notice their support is paper thin. They're not rooting for you. They're rooting for themselves to look good by standing next to you. It's like having someone hold your ladder, but secretly hoping you slip so they can whisper, "I knew it." I learned this the hard way. Back when I first started my business. Nothing fancy at all. Just a side hustle, flipping sneakers online, packaging orders in my room, staying up late, watching margins like a hawk. I told you, the fake supporter can be hard to spot. They say the right things, show up at the right times, and smile just enough to fool you. And that's exactly how it went down with a group of guys I thought had my back. We'd been boys for years. They saw the hustle. They saw the late nights and the grind. So when I started seeing some results, they hit me with, "That's dope, bro. Proud of you, man. Keep grinding." At first, I believed them. Why wouldn't I? They were my people. But then, I started noticing the quiet, the kind of silence that doesn't sound like support. It sounds like resentment, hiding behind polite smiles. I'd post about a big sale one. I'd worked hard, foreigned the group chat. Dead silent. No reactions. No fire emoji. No let's go. Just crickets. One guy even sent me a screenshot of my own post and wrote, "Don't let it go to your head, lol." Low. Yeah, nothing funny about it. When I asked if they could help promote my page, nothing crazy, just a quick share, they'd nod and say, "Of course, bro." And then, nothing. 0 shares. 0 effort. When we'd hang out, the japs would start, "You're too busy being an entrepreneur now to chill with us." They said it jokingly, but there was something behind the tone. A sharpness, like they missed me not for who I was, but for how low I used to feel. Then came the moment I'll never forget. One night, I walked into a room and caught one of them talking to another guy. "Yeah, he's trying. But you know how these things go. He'll be back working at Target in 6 months." That one hit different. Because these weren't strangers. These were my boys. The same dudes who used to crash on my couch, eat my food, and vent about life with me. And I really believed they wanted me to win. But what I learned is this. Some people want to see you win, but only as long as you don't. Win more than them. Your growth. Fine if it doesn't pass their comfort zone. Your wins. Cool if it doesn't expose their lack of effort, because your progress forces them to confront their excuses. And I've got to be real. I've been that guy, back in college. I had this buddy who got shredded. Like, Next level ripped in less than a year, while everyone else was hyping him up, clapping him on the back. I was sitting there, thinking, yeah, let's see if he can actually keep that up. Bet he's on something. I even joked that he was probably taking steroids just to feel better about the fact that I could barely commit to 20 push-ups without collapsing. That was jealousy, dressed up as keeping it real. That was me trying to feel taller by mentally chopping him down a few inches. And it wasn't until I became the one chasing something, a dream, a relationship, a purpose, that I finally understood how much fake support stings. So now, I check myself. When I feel that little voice creeping in, I pause. Because once you know how it feels, you never want to make someone else feel that way. The fake supporter, they look harmless. They blend in. They laugh, smile, even show up to your party. Deep down, they're rooting for your fall because your rise makes them uncomfortable. Worse than that, they love comparing you to others. Did you see what that other guy's doing? He's already way ahead of you. Or, you're killing it, man. But just wait. This stuff never lasts. It's subtle sabotage dressed up as advice. Take little seeds of doubt in your mind, then act like they're just looking out for you. And it doesn't stop with business. When I started dating someone incredible, smart, kind, beautiful, supportive, the same guys who used to clown me for being single suddenly had all kinds of things to say. She seems high maintenance, though, right? You sure she's not with you for the clout? And my personal favorite, she's cool, but honestly, I liked you better when you were single. Translation: you were easier to manage when you were lonely. Alone, you were more fun when you were insecure. That's the fake supporter in action. They pretend to care. They play the role. But deep down, they want to keep you in a place that makes them feel superior. Because if you outgrow that version of yourself, they lose their edge over you. And here's the part nobody really wants to hear. When someone says all the right things, but your gut still feels off, listen to it. Just because someone knows the script doesn't mean they're on your side. You're not obligated to keep people around just because they sound supportive. Watch what happens when you win. Do they light up with you genuinely? Or do their smiles flicker? Their compliments come with a sting, and their words sharpen ever so slightly. That's the real test. Koza's real friend claps when you succeed. You succeed. Nand means it. A fake supporter claps just loud enough to blend in, while secretly hoping you fumble your next step. And if you're sitting there realizing, wait to have been that person, then take a breath. Own it, because I've been there too. I know what it's like to feel that sting, watching someone else get the thing I wanted, while I was still grinding in the dark. And instead of cheering them on, I sulked. I criticized. I made little comments that masked my own insecurities. I wasn't being honest with them, and I definitely wasn't being honest with myself. But here's the shift. That changed everything. Stop asking, why him? Start asking, what can I learn from him? Because someone else winning doesn't mean you're losing. Their win doesn't subtract from your potential. It's not a pie. There's no shortage of success. In fact, their win is proof that it's possible. They're not ahead to mock you. They're ahead to show you what can happen if you stay focused. The moment I started cutting out fake supporters and stopped being one myself, my entire world shifted. Sure, my circle got smaller, but the energy, so much better. Conversations got deeper. The winds felt lighter, because there were no hidden strings, no invisible side eyes. And the biggest surprise, when I started genuinely supporting others, even while I was still behind, life responded. Opportunities opened up. People helped me. Doors started appearing that weren't there before. Because energy comes back. What you give out finds its way home. Always. Now, here's what I know to be absolutely true. Don't confuse proximity with loyalty. Don't confuse words with actions. And don't confuse clapping with caring. If someone only shows up when it's convenient, if they only support you when you're still below them, that's not support. That's insecurity in disguise. So protect your peace. Guard your energy. Surround yourself with people who clap when you win and lift you when you fall. Be the kind of friend who doesn't just show up when it's easy, but sticks around when it's uncomfortable. Celebrate others without keeping score. Because real supporters don't just stand next to you when the cameras are on. They're the ones clapping loudest when no one else is watching. And when you find people like that, keep them close. But more importantly, be that person for someone else, because the world has enough fake supporters. Don't add to the count. For the future, some friendships aren't friendships. They're unpaid internships. We've all had one, that friend who somehow lives on your couch, empties your fridge, and maxes out your Netflix profiles, all while contributing nothing but jokes, bad advice, and a suspicious lack of cash. At first, it doesn't seem like a big deal. You're just being a good friend, right? Covering them when they forget their wallet, giving them rides, letting them crash for just a few days after a breakup. But then, weeks go by, and suddenly, your couch is their bed, your pantry is their snack bar, and your hoodie. Yeah, they wear it like they bought it. At some point, you find yourself asking, am I his best friend, ... or his sponsor? I had one of those guys in my life. Let's call him Kev. Kev was the life of the party, funny, charming, always cracking jokes. He had a new plan every week. Big dreams, big talk. But one thing Kev never had. Money. Not for food. Not for gas. Not for rent. We'd go out to eat, and like clockwork, Kev would hit us with, "Yo, I got you next time. You know, I'm good for it." Except, there was never a next time. And when you brought it up, he'd laugh it off like you were the problem. Come on, bro. You know I'd pay you back if I could. The charming, couch-crashing, I got you next time guy. Yeah, well, he had one more trick up his sleeve. Whenever I brought up the fact that he never paid me back, he'd hit me with, "Bro, really? You're gonna nickel and dime me over a burger?" Or, my personal favorite, "You're up right now. Why are you stressing over a few bucks?" At first, I let it slide. I told myself all the classic justifications. He's going through a rough patch. We've been boys since high school. This is what real friends do. And the truth is, I wanted to believe it. I told myself I'd want him to do the same for me if I was in his position. But that's the dangerous thing about mutuals. They're not just takers. They're experts at emotional manipulation. They know how to flip the script, how to make you feel guilty for even noticing what they're draining from you. Not just money, energy, time, trust, and after years of being the reliable one, the guy who always answered the call, always covered the tab, always gave the ride, I realized this wasn't about generosity. This was one-sided survival. Because Kev always needed something. A ride, a couch, help with his resume, advice about his girl, a place to crash after drinking, an alibi when things went sideways. But the one time, just one sigh needed him. It was 2 a.m. I was stranded on the side of the road. Car broken down in the middle of nowhere. I called him not to ask for a miracle, just to ask if he could swing by and help. His response, "Damn, bro, that sucks. Let me know how it goes." That was the moment everything clicked. Here's the part that some people don't want to hear. Moochers aren't just broke. They're selfish. Worse, they're entitled, being broke. That's not a crime. We've all struggled. We've all had seasons where we needed help. But a moocher, they don't treat your kindness as a gift. They treat it as a lifestyle. They start expecting you to carry them financially, emotionally, socially. And when you finally set a boundary, they'll spin it, make you feel like the selfish one. That's why they're so dangerous. Because they don't just empty your wallet, they chip away at your self-worth. And listen, Niall, admit it. I wasn't always on the giving end. Right. After college, I was broke. I crashed on a friend's couch for a week. That week turned into a month. Then 2, and I got comfortable. It wasn't until he sat me down and said, "Bro, I love you, but you're draining me. You've got to figure this out," a conversation. It stung, but it saved me. Because the truth was I wasn't just broke. I was lazy. I was hiding behind someone else's generosity. Because it was easier than facing my own mess. That talk, that wake-up call, I thank him for it to this day. Here's what I've learned since then. When someone is really struggling, you'll see the effort. They'll be uncomfortable taking from you. They'll try to give back. They'll express gratitude. They'll look you in the eye and say, "Thank you." But a moocher, they'll kick their feet up. They'll get comfortable watching you do all the lifting. And if that's the case, they're not your friend. They're a parasite. And you are not a bad person for cutting them off. In fact, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop enabling them. Because as long as you keep carrying them, they'll never learn how to stand. And here's the twist. When I finally cut Kev off, after months of avoiding the conversation, dodging his calls, and making polite excuses, he called me out. "You remember Kev, right?" After months of sidestepping the conversation, I finally stopped enabling him. And when he called me, he said, "Wow, so you're just gonna leave me hanging like that? I thought we were boys." And for the first time, I didn't dodge. I didn't sugarcoat. I just told him the truth. "No, bro. We were boys. But somewhere along the way, I became your ATM, your Uber driver, and your therapist. And you stopped being my friend. So, yeah, I'm done." He didn't take it well. But honestly, that was the exact moment I started to grow. Because all the energy I'd been pouring into holding him up, I could finally pour back into myself. And that's when it hit me. Real friendships, they're a balance. Give and take. Not just take. So here's the deeper message. If you've got a moocher in your life, whether they're draining your money, your time, or your emotional bandwidth, and if every time their name pops up on your phone, you feel that tightness in your chest, that little voice whispering "not again," then deep down, you already know what you need to do. You're not responsible for someone else's lack of ambition. You're not selfish for protecting your peace. You're not a bad friend for saying no. And if you're watching this and starting to realize, damn, maybe I'm the moocher, then don't beat yourself up. But don't ignore it either. Look in the mirror and make a choice. Stop waiting for someone else to carry you. Get uncomfortable. Start building. Start giving more than you take. Because friendship is not supposed to feel like a full-time job. No one owes you their energy just because you know how to ask for it with a smile. I'll leave you with this. Some friendships are like partnerships to people investing, growing, celebrating each other side by side. And some are just unpaid internships, where one person does all the work, while the other kicks back and enjoys the perks. So ask yourself honestly, which kind are you in, and which kind do you want to build? Because if you find yourself always footing the bill, emotionally, financially, spiritually, eventually, that weight will pin you down. At some point, carrying someone else becomes the reason you're not moving forward. And here's what happens when you finally let go. You make space, real space, for people who bring value. People who don't just take your bread, they help you bake more. Choose those people. Be that person, and never, ever apologize for outgrowing the ones who refuse to grow at all. 5. The victim. Eventually, you become the villain. Let's talk about one of the most exhausting types of people. You can let into your life the perpetual victim. You know the one. The guy who can spin any situation into a sob story. Nothing is ever his fault. He's always the one who was wronged. Didn't get the job. My boss hated me. Relationship ended. My ex was crazy. Still stuck in the same place year after year. The system is rigged. My parents messed me up. Even the weather's against me. And soon, so are you. At first, you feel sympathy. You even feel inspired. You think, damn, this dude's been through a lot. I should cut him some slack. But then, a year goes by. Then 2. And nothing changes. Because he never changes. Some people, they never run out of villains. And Mark was one of them. His boss didn't like him. She was jealous because everyone liked me more. Got dumped. She was crazy. Bro couldn't handle how real I am. Failed his latest business idea. Nobody supported me. People sabotaged me. The market's trash anyway. And to be fair, at first, I believed him. Because we've all had bad bosses. We've all been heartbroken. We've all felt like we were out there alone, with no safety net. But then, I started noticing the pattern. If everyone else is always the problem, if the world is always against you, if every setback is someone else's fault, then maybe, just maybe, the world isn't the issue. You are. What really woke me up wasn't some grand argument. It was a simple dinner. We were out grabbing food one night, and Mark launched into a 20-minute rant. He went off about how his new manager was targeting him, how unfair everything was, how no one respected him, no matter how hard he tried. I let him vent. Because that's what friends do, right? But then I asked him, gently, okay, man, but what did you do? Did you show up on time? Did you hit your goals? Did you talk to her respectfully? He froze, got quiet, then muttered, man, you don't get it. You're just like everyone else. And that's when I realized something important. With a victim mentality, there's no winning. If you agree with them, you're enabling them. If you challenge them, you're attacking them. Either way, you lose. Here's the uncomfortable truth. No one likes to say, some people need to feel oppressed because it gives them a reason not to try. It's easier to say, the world's against me, than to admit, I'm scared. I'm undisciplined. I keep choosing the easy way out. See, the victim mentality gives you an odd kind of power, because if nothing's your fault, then you never have to change. You can just keep playing the same broken tape and never hit pause. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't immune. I had a little mark in me, too. When I was younger, if I didn't get the job, that manager just didn't like me. If I got dumped, she didn't appreciate a good guy like me. If I was broke, the system's rigged anyway. And sure, some of it was true. Life isn't fair. People do screw you over. But eventually, I had to face it. I looked around and asked myself, why does this keep happening? Why do I always end up here? And there was only one common denominator. Me. That realization. Yeah, it hurt. But it also freed me, because if I was the problem, then maybe, just maybe, I could also be the solution. And the craziest part, the moment I started taking real responsibility, my life started changing. I started distancing myself from Mark, not because I didn't care, but because every conversation started feeling like a black hole. Every time we talked, I left feeling drained, feeling guilty for my wins, like I had to dim my light so he wouldn't feel worse in his darkness. That's the trap of the victim. They don't just tell you their pain, they pull you into it. They call it friendship, but it's really just co-suffering. Here's the truth. You can love someone without carrying them. You can care without being their emotional crutch. You can empathize without enabling. Because if you're not careful, the victim will convince you that trying is pointless, that everything is rigged, that success is only for the lucky ones. And they'll say it in such a way that you almost believe them. They'll make you feel like you're just a pawn in the same game, stuck, powerless, defeated, and that's one of the most dangerous places to live. If you've got a Mark in your life, the friend who always finds a way to be the victim, here's what I learned to do. Start asking the questions no one else dares to. Stop just nodding and sympathizing. Start saying, okay, but what part of this was on you? So, what are you going to do differently next time? And then watch. Watch how they react. Some will pause, reflect, grow. But some, they'll get defensive. They'll push you away. They'll label you as unsupportive. And that's okay. Because you're not here to carry someone else's emotional weight forever. You're here to build your own life and hopefully inspire others to build theirs, to dot. And if you're sitting there right now thinking, wow, maybe I'm the victim. Good. That's step one. Because here's the thing. Yes, life is unfair. Yes, people will hurt you. Yes, sometimes you'll get dealt a hand so bad you can't believe it. But replaying that pain like a broken record, it won't win you the next round. At some point, you have to decide, do I want pity or do I want progress? These days, I surround myself with people who take ownership, people who admit when they mess up, who don't just complain about the rain. They figure out how to build a roof, cause real friends. They push you to grow, and they let you push them, too. Here's what I've come to understand. You can't save someone who doesn't want to save themselves. You can't convince someone to rise if they're more comfortable staying low. And you should never feel guilty for outgrowing someone who refuses to grow. So love them, yes, but from a distance, wish them well. But don't let their pain keep you stuck. And most importantly, don't let their victimhood become your excuse. Because the day you stop blaming and start building, that's the day your life truly begins. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. So there you have it. The 5 types of so-called friends who will drain your life if you let them. The gossip, the jealous friend, the fake supporter, the mutuer, the victim. If any of these felt a little too familiar, good. That's not a reason to feel guilty. That's your wake-up call. Because here's a truth most people won't say. Not everyone who sits at your table deserves a plate. Not everyone clapping for you is truly cheering. And not everyone who calls you bro is really in your corner. You can love someone and still walk away. You can forgive someone, okay, and still protect your peace. And before you go pointing fingers at everyone else, check yourself, too. We've all been one of these people at some point. The gossiper, the jealous one, the moocher, the one stuck in a victim mindset. But what matters is this: do you stay there, or do you grow? Because your circle, the people closest to you, they're not just your friends. They're your mirror. Choose wisely. The wrong people don't just waste your time. They can cost you your future. So, here's my challenge to you. Audit your circle. Tighten it. And make sure you're also the kind of friend you'd want to have. If you got value from this video, let me know in the comments, which type of friend have you had to cut off? Or, which one did you realize you were? And if you're ready for more brutally honest lessons about friendship, growth, and living with clarity, subscribe to this channel. This is Stoic Havenway. We don't just talk about life. We learn how to live it better. Because the truth, it might hurt, but it will set you free. See you in the next one.